Despite being married to Sean for 3 years, I can't seem to get pregnant and my anxiety keeps building. I've tried timing it right and have faced 10 consecutive failures. Seeing me down, Natalie coldly says, "Maybe Chris just isn't cut out to be a mom." A month later, I get a phone call. "I'm pregnant with Sean's child." What? Unable to respond, next Sean and his mother speak over the phone. "I'm going to marry Natalie." A wife who can't even bear children is just dead weight. Their harsh words tear through my heart. I understand. I'll prepare the divorce papers. I'll be staying at Natalie's place for a while. She's got morning sickness and I need to be there for her. After the call ends, I just stand there, stunned, holding my phone. Before I know it, tears are streaming down my cheeks. In my heart, I swear revenge on Sean and Natalie. They dared to trample on my heart. Don't think this is over. I will bring them down to the depths of despair. My name is Chris, a 42-year-old housewife. I met Sean at work and we got married after 3 years. We worked in the same department after he transferred a few years ago. Gradually, I was drawn to his efficient work and diligent nature. Eventually, Sean asked me out, and we got married the following year. Approaching 40, I told Sean I wanted children soon, and he agreed. Having moved to the city right after high school due to my parents not getting along well, I was determined to build a new family on my own. Everyone around me was having children naturally, so I thought it would be easy for me too. But that was a big mistake. Both Sean and I love children, and every time a colleague announces a pregnancy, I can't help but feel envious. One of my subordinates just had his second boy. He's thrilled, but his wife really wanted a girl. Sean returned from work and, while eating the simmered fish for dinner, he shared his thoughts. I get it. Girls' clothes are so cute, and it'd be fun to have girl talks when she grows up. I fondly remembered a children's clothing catalog a colleague had shown me before. Even though there's a strong trend towards gender neutrality these days, boys' clothes still lean towards blues while girls are often in reds or pinks. The baby models dressed in frills and ribbons looked just like angels. Well, for me, I don't really mind the gender. I lowered my voice in response. Yeah. I stared at the cream of spinach I reached for with my fork. Over these past 2 years, I feel like I've done everything that's said to be good for natural conception. Of course, that includes tracking my menstrual cycle and basal body temperature, and after learning that keeping warm is beneficial, I switched from daily showers to baths. I've also incorporated foods that are good for baby's development like soy, spinach, and liver into our meals. I've heard that zinc is good for reproductive health, so we both take supplements daily. Yet, despite his expressed desire for kids, Sean clearly hasn't been putting in the effort. He declared he would quit smoking, but I caught him sneaking a cigarette during breaks at work, and he refuses homemade lunches, saying a loving wife's lunchbox is just embarrassing whenever I offer because he eats out so much. Eating out too much leads to a lack of vegetables, and that makes it harder to conceive, I tell him, but Sean won't listen. Why? Infertility is a woman's issue, isn't it? I patiently tried to convince him. That's not necessarily true. We should both get checked out at a medical center. They can check everything from the womb and ovaries in women to sperm quality and infections in men. Sean retorted with irritation. Since the woman is the one to give birth, it's a woman's issue. No. Often, the issue could be with the man. That can't be. My mother always said it's the wife's lack of effort. I was so tired of hearing my mother in that context. Once Sean started talking about his mother, I knew he wouldn't listen to anything else. My hunch was right. With a smug look as if it was his own accomplishment, Sean began to chatter away. My mom got pregnant with me just 3 months after getting married. She really wanted a child and prayed every night to my dad and God. Huh? According to Mom, the reason you're not pregnant is because you're not grateful enough to me or God. I almost laughed at that. I understand the eagerness to hold a grandchild with everyone around having one, but I wish she would just leave us alone for a bit. However, it seems like venting to Sean wasn't enough for my mother-in-law. She started driving an hour to our place. She'd show up unannounced on weekends, take over the living room from 5 a.m. until after dinner, and roll with laughter watching TV. "Where's my tea refill? Bring some snacks, can't you? You're not very thoughtful." When she bosses me around like this, it honestly makes me sick. I've had to cancel plans more than once or twice because I was stuck listening to her chatter. "I need your mom to stop these unannounced visits, Sean." Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and pleaded with Sean. She bosses me around and criticizes my housekeeping. And the constant pressure about when we're gonna have kids is just too much. Even my heartfelt plea didn't seem to resonate with Sean. He snapped back irritably. "My mom is just trying to help you with her advice. You just don't get it. Your mom's visits are a huge burden. Stress is the worst enemy of trying to conceive." As I persisted, Sean's expression changed. "You're blaming my mom for our infertility? It's that kind of attitude that's why we don't have kids." "That's terrible, you don't need to say it like that." I couldn't help but tear up, and Sean clicked his tongue and went off to his room. But the next morning, he came to me, looking sorry. "I'm sorry about last night. You know, Mom has been living alone since Dad passed away a few years ago. She's just lonely and wants to see her grandchild soon," Sean said softly. In my heart, I muttered. "So, you're telling me to just put up with it?" I want to complain, but I don't want things to get ugly with Sean, who might someday be the father of my child. With that thought, I always end up holding back what I really want to say. One day, after a while, I met my best friend Natalie at a cafe, and we had a great time chatting. Natalie, who has been my best friend since high school, worked as a web designer for a local company before going independent. She moved to the city around the time I married Sean. She's now contracted with major corporations, including Sean's team, working on important projects. After getting married, I transferred to a different department from Sean's, so I don't know the details, but Natalie is talented and competent, and she's highly regarded by her coworkers. Speaking of which, is your mother-in-law still the same? After the machine gun talk, she asked, and I vented over tea. She's living alone on her pension, so she probably has time to spare, but she drops by on weekends without notice. At least twice a month. Wow, that's a lot. Right? After 2 years, it's just too much. Why don't you just divorce him? Sean always sides with his mom, doesn't he? Natalie said casually, and I just chuckled. I don't like my mother-in-law, but I like Sean. And then I continued. Sean wants a baby too. He says he wants a little girl who looks like Chris, with fair skin and big eyes. Natalie narrowed her eyes slightly. For now, I'm planning to try timing it right and give it 10 consecutive tries. If that doesn't work, maybe I'll visit a specialist. That might be a good idea. You know what? What? I could help mediate. She suggested to my surprised face. You know I lived with my difficult grandmother. Maybe I can talk to your mother-in-law too. I appreciate it, but can I really ask you to do that? Don't be silly. We're close, aren't we, Chris? Natalie's bright smile gave me the push I needed. Then I guess I'll ask for your help. Unlike me, who's shy, she's always been sociable and can make friends with anyone. It might just work out. As we were about to say goodbye outside the cafe, Natalie remembered something. Oh, right. Starting next week, Sean will be working from my place. What? You know, because of the overtime regulations. He'll continue the work that can't be finished at the office at my house. I was definitely taken aback. But, Natalie, you live alone, right? I mean, I trust you, but... Natalie burst out laughing. Oh, come on, Sean's not my type at all. Okay. I muttered, looking down. Natalie assured me firmly. I'm not so desperate that I'd hit on my best friend's husband. Remember the boyfriend I introduced you to? We're still very much in love. Right. I apologized, and Natalie smiled warmly. Relax, it's really just work. Okay. Sorry. The next day, I discreetly asked an acquaintance who works in Sean's department, and it turned out he really did have permission to take work home. If it's true, then it can't be helped. All I can do is trust Natalie and Sean. The following weekend, when my mother-in-law suddenly visited, I messaged Natalie. When I introduced her as my best friend, my mother-in-law initially played nice, but eventually showed her true colors. Chris, don't make Sean fold laundry. Let him rest on the weekends at least. Then Natalie quickly stepped in. Oh, Chris works full-time too, right? They're in the same boat. But, it's always been decided that housework is a woman's job. Natalie cut off my mother-in-law's faltering words with a smile. These days, husbands who do housework are popular at work too. They are competent and considerate of their wives. That makes them popular from their bosses to their subordinates. Right, Sean? When Natalie turned the conversation to him, Sean looked a bit troubled but intervened on behalf of his mother. Mom, I appreciate how you feel. But I've decided with Chris that we're sharing the household chores. He then began to fold the laundry. In front of his mother, Sean even hates taking away the used dishes, so this was a big step forward. Another time. His mother brought up that Sean's cousin just had their third child and sighed heavily. Chris, are you not having children just to spite me? That's not it. Then Natalie said cheerfully. Mother, you need to relax a bit more or you'll get more wrinkles. The mother-in-law, with eyes wide, heard Natalie continue with an easy smile. It makes sense. Sean is handsome, you are beautiful after all. But if you keep being hard on your daughter-in-law, you'll only get more wrinkles and gray hair. Startled, the mother-in-law touched her face and hair, then fell silent before speaking. Instead of getting angry, her response was unexpected. You're funny. You're much better than gloomy Chris. Really? Thank you. Natalie smiled politely, and Sean, beaming with pride, pulled her close. Natalie is an important business partner of mine. Oh, sounds like work will be productive. After that, my mother-in-law, leaving me out, cheerfully chatted away with Natalie and left in a good mood. Sean excitedly said, Thank you, Natalie, for keeping my mom entertained. Don't mention it. I'm here to chat anytime you need. Then Sean looked at me with a sarcastic smile. This one always manages to upset Mom. Always does things that get on her nerves. Chris is just a bit clumsy. Sean and Natalie chuckled, and I blushed. Of course, Natalie meant no harm, and I knew I should be thankful since she helped me out. But being mocked by the two of them for trying to close the gap with my mother-in-law left me feeling a bit uneasy. Whether Natalie's approach worked or not, after that, my mother-in-law's visits abruptly stopped. At the same time, Sean's work became even more demanding, and he started spending most weeknights at Natalie's place, working until late. One day, Sean, looking very serious, made a proposal. I think I'll cut back on alcohol and cigarettes. I want to watch my diet too, so could you make me lunch? I was surprised by the sudden change of heart, but if he was serious about trying for a baby, it was more than I could hope for. Of course, leave it to me. After that, I started making lunches for two eagerly. However, even though we tried at the most likely times to conceive, there was no sign of pregnancy. After work, I met with Natalie and tearfully shared the situation. 10 tries and still nothing. What's going wrong? Natalie, sipping her herbal tea and crossing her arms, gave a wry smile. Maybe Chris, you just aren't meant to be a mother? I stared at her in shock. Why don't you just give up? It's unfair to Sean. But Sean wants kids too. And my mother-in-law. So? Just do what you want. Natalie said irritably and stood up. I still have work to do. I'm off. Oh, okay. Sorry for keeping you while you're busy. As I walked home puzzled by Natalie's grumpiness, I told Sean, and he looked exasperated. Failed again? I've been helping out despite being busy. When are we going to have a child? It sounded like it was all my fault, and it stung. Let's just go to a fertility clinic to find out if the issue is with either of us. It seems like natural conception is going to be tough for us. Sean's eyes widened at my words. No way, that sounds like a hassle. It's definitely your fault anyway. It's a waste of money and time. Afraid it might be you? Sean glared at me, but I met his gaze without backing down. Shut up. I just hate the whole idea. As our arguments increased and the atmosphere grew tense, about a month later. As I finished preparing dinner and waited for Sean's return, I got a call from Natalie. What's up? Oh well, guess what? I'm pregnant. Wait, Natalie is pregnant before me. I was heartbroken, but I forced a cheerful voice. Congratulations. Is it the boyfriend you mentioned before? No, I broke up with him a long time ago. Oh, I see. So it's someone else. Yes. It's Sean's baby. I was speechless. What? I said, it's Sean's baby. Natalie repeated firmly, making sure I heard every word. My world went dark. The two people I trusted most were having an affair. Before I could say anything, Sean and his mother shouted through the phone. It's clear you're not good enough. So, we're getting divorced. I'm going to marry Natalie. A wife who can't have children is just dead weight. I want you out of my sight quickly. Their cruel words tore through my heart. I understand. I'll prepare the divorce papers. I'll be staying at Natalie's place for a while. She's having morning sickness, and I need to support her. You prepare yourself for the divorce. After saying what he wanted, Sean hung up. I stood there stunned, holding my phone. Tears streamed down my face. Not from sadness, but from sheer frustration. My body shook with anger. I had never been so furious in my life. I bit my lip so hard I almost drew blood and swore in my heart to Sean and Natalie. You dare trample on my heart. Don't think this will just go away. I'll make sure you hit rock bottom. As Sean instructed, I prepared for the divorce and waited a week, but heard nothing. When I called his cell, Natalie answered again. We're at his mother's house right now. Sean doesn't want to go back to you. He doesn't even want to hear your voice. It's funny, considering how lovey-dovey you two were at your wedding 3 years ago. Natalie spoke with dripping sarcasm, but I responded in kind. I don't want to see Sean's face either. But I do want to discuss our future, so I need him to come back just once. If you don't want to see his face, why don't you just leave the house? I'll live here with your mother-in-law and Sean, just the three of us. Oh, are you buying it? It's probably about $600,000. It's a 4-bedroom home on a southwest corner lot with a large yard and parking. Huh? I smiled thinly, wondering if she was even listening. Didn't I tell you before? This land was passed down to me from my grandmother. The house was built with an inheritance. Natalie fell silent. She probably thought it was Sean's house. After a pause, she seemed to gather herself and asked, What do you mean by future discussions? Things like shared property. And I need you to sign the divorce papers. Okay, I'll come. When is good for you? I smirked to myself as she took the bait. While holding back laughter, I explained in a matter-of-fact tone. Could you come next weekend? It seemed Sean and his mother, who must have been listening in the background, agreed because Natalie answered. All right. I'll bring Sean and his mother with me. Yes, I'll be waiting. While inwardly frustrated at how well Natalie seemed to fit in with my mother-in-law, I reminded myself to be patient just a little longer and waited for the weekend. 2 weeks later, after making various preparations, Sean, Natalie, and his mother arrived at the appointed time with triumphant smiles. I invited the three of them into the living room and asked Sean directly. So, Sean, you plan to marry Natalie after our divorce, right? Yeah. It would be sad if the baby didn't have a father. Sean is really a kind person. Chris, you don't deserve him. His mother said, admiringly puffing up her chest. Kind people don't cheat on their wives with their best friends and then have a child, do they? I wanted to retort, but it seemed pointless to argue properly, so I just muttered it in my heart. But let me say this. While pretending it was just work, it turned into that kind of relationship, huh? As I sighed, Natalie gloated. I swore it when I met you at Chris's wedding. No matter what it took, I was going to take you from her. When we started working together, I felt like fate was on my side. She grinned wickedly and whispered in my ear. Here's something interesting. Chris was dumped by her boyfriends in high school and college because I aggressively pursued them. Natalie's vulgar smile spread across her face as I stared in shock. I bad-mouthed Chris to her boyfriends during our double dates. They quickly fell for me instead. Your boyfriends were just that pathetic, poor thing. Natalie laughed heartily. But well, can't help it. Everyone just falls for me. Yeah, I get it. Natalie, unlike Chris, you're beautiful and funny. No wonder Sean fell hard for you. Sean's mother chimed in, wrapping her arms around Natalie and laughing excitedly. I've really taken a liking to this girl. Ever since we met at Sean's house, I've visited her home several times. We had a great time talking about Chris's old stories. Like when Chris was ostracized in her club activities or sat alone eating her lunch because she couldn't fit in with the girls. Sean too spread a sleazy grin. Chris's imitation of crying was the best. Really, Natalie, you're so funny. Chris, at least you have an eye for friends. I clenched my fist as the three of them laughed uproariously. They were enjoying making fun of me. What a dream to think this wonderful woman is carrying Sean's child. I can't wait for the baby. Sean's mother gazed at Natalie's not yet swollen belly, her cheeks flushing. Keep going at this rate and have 4 or 5. I'll support you. His mother declared boldly, and I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Sean and his mother looked puzzled as I shook with laughter and made my excuses. Oh, sorry. I couldn't hold it in. What? If you have something to say, say it. Yeah, that's rude. Not that it's anything new. The two of them looked annoyed, and I told them with a smile. Then I'll say it. That child is not Sean's. Natalie tried to appear calm. But I didn't miss the moment her face twitched. What? Stop it, you're just jealous of Natalie. Faced with their skepticism, I decided to show them the proof. I laid out the documents sent from the hospital on the table. Sean looked annoyed, his mother frowned, and Natalie appeared uneasy as they all leaned in to look at the papers. Sperm count, 0. It's called azoospermia. Sean has male infertility. So even if Natalie had a relationship with him, it wouldn't result in a child. Confused and unable to grasp the situation, his mother and a shocked Sean listened as I broke it down for them. Remember, Sean grudgingly agreed to order a pregnancy test kit. 3 days ago, your results came addressed to you, but I accidentally opened it. And this is what it said. I placed my own test results next to it for clarity. All my values were high, well above the standard levels. That meant I wasn't the cause of our infertility. His mother, who had been staring at the paper as if to bore holes into it, turned away with a face like she had bitten into a sour apple. Unable to say a mean word to me. I thought she might burst, and she eventually blushed and shouted. This is a lie. Chris must have fabricated these to malign us. Right, Sean? But Sean just grimaced and looked down. If that's true, then who's the father of the baby? I'd like to know that too. Ah, but maybe you don't even know yourself? As I fiddled with my phone and showed everyone a picture I had pulled up, Natalie's face twisted into a demonic grimace. Where did you get this? She leaned forward as if she was about to grab me by the collar. I smirked and told her. I have other friends too. Are these all the potential dads, I wonder? Are they all potential dads? His mother screamed almost like a wail. Sean was speechless. And for good reason. Images showed Natalie arm in arm with various men, entering and exiting hotels. 6 different men in total. I told a coworker when I heard Sean was working at Natalie's place. Then I was warned that woman seduces married men from client companies one after another, so be careful. She always targeted men from other companies so Sean wouldn't find out. I confronted her while looking directly at Natalie. I thought you wouldn't go after a best friend's husband, at least. I trusted you, and you betrayed me so easily. Natalie started to say something but then closed her mouth and stayed silent. Feeling pathetic for having been friends with such a person for so long. When I glanced at Sean, his face was a mix of anger and disappointment. Honestly, I don't care who the father is. After some time passed, Natalie finally became defiant. She clung to Sean and spoke in a sugary tone. I chose Sean. He's the fastest rising star in his department, straight on the elite track. And I get along with your mother so much better than Chris ever did. I'm absolutely better for Sean than Chris. Natalie. Sean frowned. Then, his mother, with a forced smile, spoke to Natalie. Natalie, you're that trendy something designer, right? Yes, I'm a freelance web designer. I earn a lot, even though it might not look like it. Oh, do you dislike working women? Not at all. Nowadays, it's normal for daughters-in-law to work, right? I understand that much. She extended her hand to Natalie while still smiling. I much prefer you over Chris. Please become part of our family. Really? Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you. While Sean was left aside, the 2 women clasped hands and cheered. Hey, Mom. Are you okay with the grandchild not being mine? His mother cheerfully declared. Totally fine. We can't expect any from you in the future anyway, right? If so, I'd rather have a daughter-in-law I get along with and enjoy life. We've got to think about our livelihood too. The remark from his mother made everything click for me. I turned back to Natalie and offered my congratulations. That's great for you, Natalie. You always said you wanted to marry a successful businessman and have kids soon. Oh, you've moved on already? Simple-mindedness suits you well. Well, thanks anyway. While his mother was in a good mood and Sean furrowed his brow, I continued. It's going to be tough going forward, but good luck. As a former best friend, I support you. Come on, Sean, sign the divorce papers. After Sean finished signing the divorce papers, Natalie suddenly remembered something. By the way, we haven't discussed our shared assets yet. Oh. It's easier if I just show you. I opened a family sharing app on my phone and showed Natalie, who turned pale the moment she saw it. What is this? She was shocked by the exchange she saw on the screen. Sean, I lost $2,000 again today. Give me some allowance. Again? That's the 3rd time this month, right? I'm already paying off your gambling debts, try to cut back a little. Don't be stingy. You make plenty of money, you should give some to your mother. Another day. If we start fertility treatments in earnest, I won't be able to hand over money like I used to. Going forward, please limit your spending to your pension and dad's savings. What? No way. It's a child's duty to support their parents. You can do fertility treatments if you want, but keep giving me money as usual. I expect about $10,000 a month, okay? I explained to a stunned Natalie. They accidentally sent this personal exchange in a group message. I was shocked when I saw it. No wonder Sean was reluctant about fertility treatments. I took a deep breath and glared at his mother. After rushing to have children, you have the audacity to ask your child for gambling money. What a mother. You're annoying. It's none of your business. Right, it's no longer my business. So good luck, Natalie. I patted a dazed Natalie on the shoulder. You get along so well with your mother-in-law, you'll probably end up being milked for money. Do your best. But, the debt is part of the marital assets, right? Natalie looked at me, her voice trembling with fear. I've taken steps to renounce the debt. Oh, and since Sean dipped into our savings too, he'll be repaying that along with the alimony, I stated sharply, and Natalie's forehead vein popped in anger. She stood up quickly, raising her voice angrily. What? You must be joking. I chose him because I thought I could live luxuriously. Why should I have to deal with his mother's debts? Natalie, Sean said, wide-eyed, as Natalie glared at him furiously. That's it, I'll raise the child by myself. You just keep cozying up to your mama as usual. With that, Natalie stormed out, slamming the door behind her. His mother, who had been staring blankly at the doorway, puffed her cheeks. What the heck? Such a rude girl, she exclaimed. By her side, Sean fidgeted and then suddenly bowed deeply to me. I'm sorry, Chris. It was all my fault. She came on strong, and I got carried away. I've realized now that I truly only love you. His mother quickly added her own apology. Yes, that's right. We were deceived. I never thought she was that kind of person. So please reconsider the divorce. She laughed nervously and wrung her hands. I even finished the procedures to sell the house. We were supposed to move into Natalie's place tomorrow, so this sudden change is really inconvenient. Mom, selling the family home is news to me. Wait, did you lose at the races again? Or was it another impulsive buy? Sean asked, turning pale. His mother blushed and lifted her new purse to show off. Look, it's the latest bag. Pretty, isn't it? Sean covered his face and groaned. Not again? Give me a break. She thought your house was too run down, wanted to move to something nicer. If Natalie's place is no good, maybe a high-rise or something. This place is pretty nice, too, she said arrogantly, scanning the room. Chris is kind, she won't abandon us. Let's forget what happened and stay together, his mother said brazenly. Rage boiled up from deep within me. Don't joke around. You're the ones who wanted a divorce. Sean, make sure you move your stuff by this weekend. Otherwise, I'm throwing it all out. I'm apologizing here. Can't you compromise a little? You're so cold. Let's handle the rest through our lawyers. I'm done here, you can go now. I hurried Sean and his displeased mother out of the house. Natalie and Sean's careers had seemed promising, but after the wives of the men Natalie had involved herself with complained to their superiors, the project was cancelled. Natalie was fired, ending her association with our company. After paying alimony to me and the other wives from her savings, Natalie tried to find a job as if nothing had happened. However, her bad reputation had spread throughout the industry, and she was unable to find employment anywhere. She couldn't pay her condo mortgage anymore and had to move to an old apartment. After giving birth, she placed her baby in daycare and struggled to make ends meet by working multiple part-time jobs. Sean, too, found it uncomfortable to stay at his job after his affair was exposed and quit. To pay for his mother's shopping habits, he reluctantly sold their family home and moved with her into a shabby apartment. After changing jobs to a smaller company, Sean depleted his savings compensating me for our joint savings and paying alimony, making his life even harder. His mother didn't help around the house and indulged in gambling instead. Constant fights between mother and son led their landlord to threaten eviction due to noise complaints. Freed from the obsession of having to have children quickly, I felt lighter. I returned to full-time work and threw myself more into my job than ever before. The following year, I was promoted to supervisor. Eventually, a younger colleague proposed, and after dating, we got married. Soon after, I became pregnant and was blessed with a lovely daughter. My in-laws were wonderful people, and now I have a warm and loving family. Through interactions with my adorable child, my in-laws, and my husband, I cherish my daily happiness.